Good afternoon, everyone. I mean, that was fantastic, right? 2 days back, I think Pat sent me this a link with all the images and backgrounds. I really liked it because the concept, more like, a laboratory, then a couple of professors and students, and look at the badges. Like, that is, the concept is kind of really cool. So, I think Pat gave you a quick introduction about myself. This is going to be, very short. My full name is Abhijith Babirajan Reniga. So that's the reason I call myself ABX. So that was my hacker handle. Then, I used to work with different organizations, including Nissan Motor Corporation, which is in Japan. Now you know, right? Why I had to change, kind of start addressing myself as ABX. It was easy to pronounce. So mostly I work mostly in the offensive security area, like, working as a consultant. I also run my own company called Brief Simulation Range. Also, I manage Adversary Village at DEFCON, which is a community initiative focused on attack simulation, offensive cyber security, so and so activities. So moving on. So the stuff we are going to talk about here, it's on the offensive side. So how many of you folks are coming from offensive background? All right. So my people. How many of you are from defensive background? Let's say working for, Okay. I don't like you. No. I'm just kidding. So here, if you notice the talk of the title, the more like, Borderless Adversaries. So there is a reason for that heading. So 2 months back, I think 1 month back, I was doing a session for MITRE in Singapore. The event was named APAC, Community Workshop by MITRE Attack. The thing is like APAC is supposed to be, a community of countries where they will be sharing intelligence, cyber threat intelligence, and collaborate with each other, right? So, that was the purpose of that community, APAC region. So now we also know that these countries there, they're all fighting each other, right? So when I was there for the session, I'll tell you later, I had a couple of threat actors coming from different region in APAC. All these fellows were there. Let's say, if you are talking about Russian threat actors, there was obviously a Russian guy. Then you talk about Chinese threat actors, there was also some people from China, right? It was not a good situation to be in. Because when you talk about it, so we sometimes say that technology is not political, but it is political in some cases, especially when you talk about nation-state sponsored threat actors. So then after my talk, one guy came up to me and asked me like, okay, we know that tigers are coming out of India too, why don't we talk about it? I said, okay, I don't know anything about that, but I need to go back to my country after this talk, right? So again, So when you talk about threat actors, let's say nation-state sponsored, cyber attacks, 3 major things are there. One is like evolving threat landscape, obviously geopolitical and financial motivations, then critical infrastructure. The very first thing, so we can see that the threat actors are evolving. It was one kid from his basement, but now, thousands of hackers are targeting other countries as part of nation-state, initiated hacking attempts. Let's say intelligence agencies are building, programs so that people could, countries could keep an eye on what their adversary has been doing so far, right? So it is, that area is a, not even gray, that is a dark area, right? Also, again, financially motivated ransomware gangs, hacking groups, which are continuously targeting financial sector, banks, so and so industries as well. For the final thing, critical infrastructure, it is important because telecom and manufacturing, they have been running on the same setup for the last 30 to 40 years. Let's say, as per them, if something is working, let's say a manufacturing plant is working, then they will not go and touch it. They'll keep it like, air gap network. As long as it is working properly and, manufacturing stuff, they don't go and touch it. Sometimes, as offensive security professionals, you will not be able to send a probing packet because they are afraid that may go down. So these kind of environments, critical infrastructure environments, are getting a lot of traction in between the threat actors. Whether it could be a nation-state sponsored hacking group, or maybe a bunch of hackers joined together, malicious hackers joined together to get some money, looting people, right? So these three areas, these are like critical areas of the threat actors. Obviously, financial and geopolitical, critical infra due to the nature of legacy, legacy systems and traditional systems. Then also the improvement of technology. Obviously, people, if you know about, there was a breach in a couple of ransomware gangs and nation-state sponsored threat actors, right? So if you know, researchers notice that these fellows are working from 9 to 5 as a government job. Obviously, that is funded by the governments, right? Okay. I had a workshop yesterday. I think some of these people are from there. Attended that workshop, and you got a sneak peek of the stuff here, right? So how many? I'm showing you a nice-looking AI-generated images of let's say 4 different cool animals. Would any of you name them? Most of you guys are from the defensive background, right? Okay.
Standard spider.
You were not in my training yesterday, right? All right, yeah. Just making sure. Okay. Yeah, scattered spider.
Oh, all of them?
Yeah.
Protein bear.
Okay, we got a bear. So we got 2 more.
Sandworm.
Yeah, sandworm, that is right. And nobody noticed the innocent panda. Yeah. So basically, this is actually ant spider. So they are from a family, right? So ant spider, metallic spider, scattered spider, Sandworm, again, another threat actor targeting industry systems. We might be familiar with the causey bear and the pandas, right? The funny thing to notice here, some of these fellows are related. Let's say pandas. Pandas are kind of a family, a big family. Most of these hacking groups coming out of my neighborhood country, they share tactics, TTPs and tools between other teams. More like copycats, right? I'll show you one more image. This is the second set. We got a black cat ransomware gang. Yeah. We got wizard spider, yeah, that is right. We got mythic leopard, and we got Volt Typhoon, because this is getting a lot of traction nowadays. Volt Typhoon and Salt Typhoon. They targeted and compromised Singapore telecommunication back in 2024. They're also continuously targeting many organizations in the US and the allies as well. So here, out of these 8 threat actors, I'm going to show you 3 or 4 of them, because we did some research on them and we created emulation plans for the same. Let's say we have the wicked panda, again, the entire panda family. They have compromised different set of major organizations scattered across multiple countries, multiple geographics, starting from India to Brunei and UK, right? Again, they also share tactics between their, the other family members. Let's say wicked panda and, viceroy panda, so and so. So here, one more thing to notice here, you can see that couple of other names. It is also mentioned as wicked spider, wicked panda, black fly, or suckfly, because there is the influence of vendors. I was also saying the same scenario yesterday. Let's say you had an incident in your organization. You were doing an incident response and investigation, and you submitted your entire investigation report to your management. Or just to make sure your management is again trying to bring a third-party vendor to do all. Yeah. Okay.
Behind the speaker.
All right.
Thanks.
All this stuff all together, right? Then they are saying that, okay, this is now, you did the investigation and you are claiming that, okay, there is wicked panda who attacked my organization. That was your, investigation report. At the same time, someone came over, like a third party came over, they did the same investigation, and they are, mentioning that is actually black fly. And it happens many of the time. The attribution matters. once the threat actor name is wrongly attributed, the chances are very high that the motivation could even change. A specific threat actor group is looking for money, but the second threat actor group is actually targeting organization for espionage, right? So the thing with like attribution, wrong attribution, that is getting a thing nowadays. Even though maybe they could be the same group of threat actors, maybe they are not same, but again, that is a kind of a gray area when we talk about attribution of threat actors and hacking groups. All right, okay. I mean, you are familiar. How many of you are familiar with MITRE ATT&CK Navigator? Awesome, awesome. So here, I mean, again, like I mentioned, out of all those 8 threat actors, we did some research and we created emulation plan. We did some training. So that's the reason we picked only a couple of them. So this is, again, an emulation plan created for APT41, aka Wicked Panda, using a free tool called Vector. So a number of open source and paid tools are there. I mean, this was kind of very easy for us to demonstrate, starting from initial access. They performed vulnerability scanning against exposed surveys of their certain targets. Then they compromised software supply chain. They also performed spear phishing attacks against their targets. Then they kind of branched out into different categories, starting from recon to defense evasion. So these are the different set of activities performed by Wicked Panda to evade their target defenses. Just look at it. They performed code signing. They used rootkits. They used tried impersonation. They also used compile HTML file to evade detection. So many techniques, right? If you move on to the next slide, then from defense evasion, they moved on to credential access, and finally, they did some exfiltration, right? So these are the different categories, again, starting from credential access to exfiltration here. So we did a detailed emulation of APT41. So that's the reason I'm showing you this, the entire mapped out diagram. So these are the activities performed by, complex activities performed by Wicked Panda, hence the emulation plan. The old Typhoon, here is one notable thing here, that is the second point. Yeah, second point. Old Typhoon, they also breached into Singapore telecommunications back in 2024, and they are also targeting many organizations in the US as well, financial, healthcare, and other industries as well. So just look at the second point. The group is known for using living off the land binaries, lol bins or lol bars, right? These executables, they are in Windows operating system itself, signed binaries, right? Even if you upload them, I mean, they are legitimate binaries. These fellows were using the legitimate binaries, to bypass defenses and carry on whatever activities they have been doing within the target network. So this is an important point, because even though there are many projects related to lol bars and lol bins, now there is till now there is a huge gap in detection when we use lol bars. I will give you a very short story on this, because a few years ago I was doing an engagement for a client. The challenge was they disabled PowerShell. So how many of you like PowerShell? Only 2 red teammates, I guess. None of the blue team guys like PowerShell, right? Is that the story? Okay. So the challenge was the defense people, they disabled PowerShell.exe, which was again a dumb thing to do, right? Then there was 2 levels of defense, which was, one was a certain antivirus product, second one was EDR software. Then there was also another module called EPM, Endpoint Privilege Manager, because even though you have local admin credentials, you will not be able to use them. 3 different categories of tooling, right? The challenge was to execute PowerShell, some kind of PowerShell, bypass their defenses and execute PowerShell and dump credentials or whatever activities you could do, right? So they missed something. They just simply prevented PowerShell.exe, right? They forgot that it is not about the executable, it's about the library, right? It's about the DLL, underlying DLL and platform, because PowerShell is kind of rooted to the kernel itself, Windows kernel itself. So the remedy, the bypass was kind of very, very simple. What I did, I tried using unmanaged PowerShell. I tried to connect to the same DLL used by PowerShell using msbuild.exe, another lolbus, another binary within Windows, right? Then using that, I executed PowerShells in the PowerShell script in the memory itself, bypassing the entire setup. So in the process, I also discovered something else, that this activity was supposed to be detected by the antivirus or EDR, and none of them were able to detect it. That is a funny thing. It happened in 2018, right? The use of unmanaged PowerShell. It is, again, you cannot simply disable PowerShell.exe and hope that people will not be able to use PowerShell in your environment. No, that is fucking crazy. So the Black Cat ransomware gang. So again, they are supposed to be a certain language speaking from a certain language speaking country. Here you need to look at the third point. The Black Cat ransomware uses Rust-based ransomware to target multiple OS, including Windows and Unix. Right? How many of you like Rust? Obviously the red teammates, yeah? How many blue teammates like Rust programming language? All right, okay, now I know. So the thing with Rust is kind of a new language, right? So the offensive people did, what they did was like, porting all the existing programs to Rust, all the libraries to Rust, and reuse it. Right? I'll show an example as well. So this is one technique to keep in mind, because the Rust, the Black Hat ransomware gang, they extensively used Rust-based programs, executables, and ransomware tools to compromise their targets and get things done. So they have a wide range of targets, including organizations in the APAC region, US, and other part of the world as well. Again, have certain language speaking, So I've been warned multiple times not to mention names of products, or not to mention, names of so-and-so origins. So that's the reason you are, hearing kind of, a beep beep from my end. Cobalt spider. Right? Again, they are also a family similar to the pandas, right? They are also coming from, sorry, here there is a small difference. This guy is targeting the entire financial system, starting from SWIFT payment modes to ATMs. They're after the money. They're after the big bucks. So one thing to notice here, tools used like Cobalt Strike, most probably cracked versions of Cobalt Strike, right? To get into the organization and laterally move and exfiltrate sensitive data. There is one more point, the last one, right? If they want to attack you, they would attack the supply chain. They know that this guy is affiliated with them, and this guy is a trusted friend or trusted partner, right? So they will kind of compromise the first organization, then from there to move the second organization. The actual target will not be, will be having all kind of defenses, but chances are very less that the first party will be having the same set of defenses. So that's why the supply chain attack is getting more traction. Even if you cannot hack Google, maybe you can try to get into the company who is serving food to Google, right? Simple thing. So we talked about all these threat actors, hacking groups, nation-state sponsored, intelligence-sponsored hacking groups, and a group of threat actors targeting for people for money, right? These sort of stuff. Now let's talk about the targets. So anyone, there was a funny news like 2, 3, 4 weeks back. Do you know about Blockbuster ransomware, right? Right? So the Blockbuster ransomware gang, they used to launder their money with a certain financial provider, kind of a exchange, Bitcoin exchange kind of thing, right? This guy, he was actually hiding in a place in India, South India. And Interpol, they noticed the state police, and the state police caught this guy from that small city in South India. People didn't know that such a big guy, he was staying here for a long time and, like a king. It was all over the news in India. Like, this guy got caught from a South Indian state, South Indian city, basically a beach city. This guy was chilling there. Okay, we talked about the threat arteries, ransomware gangs, hacking groups, so and so. Now let's talk about the targets. So who are the targets here? Just could you name some? Who are the targets here? Targets of targeted cyber attacks.
Like financial companies.
Okay, that means organizations, right? Enterprises.
Yeah.
All right.
Critical infrastructure.
Critical infrastructure.
Defense contractors.
Defense contractors, again, a part of government, right?
Supply chain.
Answer what?
Supply chain.
Supply chain, yes. A part of enterprises as well as government. Right? Nothing else?
Healthcare.
Okay, again, that is part of government, right? Yeah. Huh?
Healthcare is not part of government.
I'm sorry, maybe my bad. Two things are here. Healthcare, in our case, a majority of the healthcare is managed by government. Then the private players are also there. So, my bad. So only these two, only government organizations and enterprises, right? I will get to one more point. So let's start with the enterprises for now. So I have personally assigned the defense level of 9 out of 10 because the enterprises, especially the ones with money, right? They can procure all these tools. I mean, I'm talking about matured organizations with a lot of security budget, right? How many tools, how many sections you can see here? This is actually from momentumcyber.com. How many security products you can see here? Maybe under endpoint security or under web security, data security. How many vendors you can see here? Actually see here. How many of them are familiar or being used by your organization? Obviously, you're not supposed to name them, but So if you look at the endpoint security controls, maybe 10 to 15 years ago, maybe your organization might be having only one product, right? Now that is not the case. You have a multi or hybrid environment. You have Windows machines, Linux machines, you have Mac machines for your end users. You have AWS cloud, you have Azure cloud. And you cannot use a single vendor for covering everything. Let's say if you are using Windows Defender for endpoints and you have a hell lot of Linux or Unix systems, obviously you'll have to go for another antivirus to make sure of the coverage, right? Then if you are focusing on Azure, then you need to have a different product, maybe Sentinel on there, maybe Windows Defender there, right? So the environment is getting more hybrid and more complex. So you'll have to buy multiple security products for enterprises. Let's say, let's check your enterprise laptop. How many user agents you can see there actually? How many you can count? How many agents are actually running there? We can count antivirus for sure. EDR will be there. APM will be there. DLP will be there. Some kind of log ingesters for the Splunk or in the SOC setup will be there. Something to track your laptop. Something like, okay, not naming, but a product to track your laptop. They can monitor where exactly your laptop is sitting, right? They can remotely lock down. Such software is there. Then SIM agents will be there. IP monitoring, user analytics, telemetry connection, SCM agents will be there, right? Zero trust. Nowadays, zero trust architecture, they need agents to make sure that zero trust is enforced. You can count at least 15 to 20 different user agents there, right? In your end user laptop. So one more question here is even though all these enterprises are having such big tool sets, security products, they are still getting breached. Let's talk about Okta. There's a very, very funny, kind of thing, right? What happened with Okta, right? They had everything in place. Microsoft, right? I don't know. I'm not quite sure they still have figured out how they got initial access, right? One big story. They are also having the same set of security products, but still these major organizations are getting breached. Something happened with MITRE, but they kind of accepted, what happened. They came up with an incident response report and everything. It was like last year. So my question, even though they are having all those security products, still they are getting breached. They were not immune to such ransomware gangs and such targeted cyber attacks, right? So I will give an example. Let's pick an EDR product from here. I will give a quick demo, right? So because as a red teamer, my job is to break into organizations and assess their security posture. Let's say an organization with a maturity level, only such organization will be doing a red team engagement, right? Our job is to get in there and try to figure out, okay, how well are their defenses? Am I able to fool anything? Or am I able to exfiltrate some sensitive data? What can they do to prevent such bullshit? So let's pick on security product here. I will give an example in the enterprise environment. More like a demo. What would an adversary or a teamer would do? I mean, obviously we'll be trying to breach the defenses, right? Even though you have multiple layer of defenses. So on the left end here, you can notice that there is a loader created using Rust programming language. Right? This is basically very simple loader created using Rust language. And you can see Citium EDR tool here. This is free, and basically they don't care if we talk shit about them. Right? If I do like internal trainings or sessions, most probably I'll be using if I'm coming to your company to provide a training, most probably I'll be showing a demo of bypassing your defenses, right? So I'm not supposed to do that, but here that's the reason we are using like Citium, free tool. So you can see that it's put in full prevention mode, and I was able to execute the payload and get a reverse connection in the open source command and control called Havoc. They were so easy. There was not even alert. It was full prevention mode. So just running. You can see in the agent as well, there is also a web interface where we can control all the rules, prevention mode, so on and so activities. We just simply opened that loader. Again, it will load that shellcode in the memory. A simple loader written in Rust programming language. Bypassed everything, and we got the reverse communication in the command and control. So this is an example of how attackers are bypassing, or professional red teammates are bypassing your elite defenses. So if I can do this to this product, I can obviously do the same to your EDR product, right? One more thing here, if I, as a security professional, if I can do the same thing, then obviously like hundreds of nation-state sponsored threat actors, just imagine what they could do against an enterprise. So that is the actual question here. Moving on to the next thing, second point is like second target. Right? Government organizations, right? So here I put the defense level is like 8, not because they have no money, only because there is some red tape is involved when procuring security products. Enterprises, they can actually go and buy something, but governments, they need to go via a different level of approvals, different level of validation is there. So that is the only reason the scoring is like 8. So again, government has no budget constraints, but it is what it is. So let's take an end-user laptop as an example. The same end-user laptop will be also having same set of security products similar to an enterprise, maybe some, maybe less. One point to notice here, the last one, focused on the limiting access and traffic. Most of the time, if you did pen testing or a team assessment against any government organization, you can notice that many of them, they are actually their motto is kind of limiting outbound traffic. I mean, even if something happens, there will not be outbound connection. That is their kind of whole scenario there. So here, as a threat actor, I'm simulating myself as a threat actor. Let me pick the antivirus product here. I just did a demo of EDR. What would a nation state threat actor typically do? They also try to bypass defenses deployed by any government organization. So here basically another technique used by a threat actor group. This is basically loading a driver file, a malicious driver file as a local admin, and using that level of access to turn off any kind of security products without any detection, basically. So this thing actually, it's not playing. Okay. This one actually uses a malicious driver in a window. Again, I'm demonstrating Windows Defender only because again, I'm not supposed to talk shit about so-and-so EDR providers, AV providers, because I also work closely with them, regarding some of my clients. So everything is turned on, and we just dumped, by impairing the defenses, we just dumped the entire credential file into the machine. So if I can do this, the same technique will work for all the major AV providers and EDR providers. So that is the concept here. I just try to use a malicious driver, and using that level of privilege, I kind of impaired the defenses. I was here targeting for only the Defender endpoint executable. I can use the same logic for n number of AVs and EDRs or whatever stuff they have there. So these are two demos for two different targets. So this is the third target. We talked about governments and enterprises. This is the third one, general public. Because if I'm targeting enterprises, I'm a red teamer, I will be having like clear-cut scope of engagement. This is the stuff you are allowed to do. This is the stuff you are not allowed to do. Right? These are your targets. These are not your target. This is the point your last entry would be, right? But with respect to nation-state sponsored threat actors, or intelligence-powered threat actors, or any malicious hacking groups, ransomware gang, they don't have any kind of guardrails, right? So if, just imagine, a specific threat actor group from a country is targeting you, right? So if I am targeting you as an enterprise employee, I will be targeting your enterprise email account only. I will not be doing it anywhere else. From being a nation-state sponsored threat actor, they have no guardrails. Even if they can get to you, because your laptop or your device will be having certain level of security measures, they will be targeting your friend, then using that connection to reach you or gather information about you, right? In that case, the general public is also getting affected. Your family is going to be affected. Your friends are going to be affected, right? Your colleagues are going to be affected in case a state-sponsored hacking group is targeting you as an employee. Maybe you are working for the government, but these people are targeting you to obtain sensitive information or anything, but they cannot get to you, but they can also target your. So we have seen such kind of behavior from so-and-so threat actors. They even kept a doxing sheet of their target. Who are the closed ones, their handles, their email accounts, right? Any of their data has been breached from any of the existing breaches, so-and-so data. So that's the reason defense level is 2, because how many of you have a secondary your home laptop other than your work laptop? All right. Okay. Yeah, obviously, are you using an antivirus, right? Yes or no? Okay. How many of you have Mac? Which antivirus are you using? I'm just curious. Just curious.
Most Mac users don't use antivirus because they think they can't get hacked.
Oh, okay. All right. Come on. So that is the thing with our home laptops and our family. So if it is a Linux or Mac laptop, most of the time we cannot find any kind of defense, AVs or EDRs or any other security products there. If it is a Windows laptop, if you are buying it from an outlet, they will be forcing you, 1 year license of maybe their partner antivirus. After 1 year, the license will be expired and the family will not be renewing it. It will be there forever, right? In many cases, only the Windows Defender will be your only protector, only defender of your laptop. In many cases, Defender is not fully configured. How many of you trust Windows Defender for your end user laptop, for your home laptop? Nobody. Actually, I think Windows Defender is pretty good because it has some customized options like ransomware protection. You can mark a couple of directories, and if someone is trying to write or read from that directory, it will let you know someone is trying to do this. I like Windows Defender, but I will also put something behind Windows Defender in my laptop. So again, Linux home users mostly know Mac, No. Well, in your home computers, are you using anything other than antivirus? All right.
I use the Vineyard, but also use on the network level. I use Ubiquity.
All right.
Like a security features. I use that in combination.
Okay. So this is my personal comment. My personal laptop, I use like 2 different products. The third one is going to be an open source product called Port Master. I use it because I can keep track of all the outbound traffic coming from my laptop. So nothing related to this. I was just telling you, this is something I use in my personal laptop. Going to the home users here, what would a ransomware gang typically do against home users, right? So it's a very small demo. This is an emulation ransomware emulation. How many if you have been to DEF CON or Hackspace Con, you can see that at Adversary Village, we host a couple of hands-on activities. One of that is a live ransomware emulation. So we have created a test emulation, setup with a lot of defensive controls. So we will give you access to, the control environment. You can try to execute or emulate a ransomware. The same activities can be observed in the SIM as well. Just to understand how you can monitor a relatively new ransomware, right? So this was created as part of that engagement, but it has the same capabilities. So this is the locally hosted web dashboard for the emulation controls. You can see everything is turned on, your beloved antivirus, and just executing the agent. It was created using Golang. And going back to the VM, we can see that the connection is there in our web dashboard. So using that encrypt decrypt Excel buttons, you can just do whatever stuff you want on the target. This is a new one. This is created by me for the training purpose. And the same I'll be using the same setup for my DEF CON training as well. So this is important, very important, because how many of you actually try to procure, part of a procurement team? Let's say if you want to procure a new security product for your organization, you will have to take 3 of them, you will have to test them, you will have to evaluate them, then only you will be going for the best one. So how many of you actually performed a ransomware test against your EDR product? This is a new one, created using ChatGPT without any guardrails. Using simple ChatGPT. I have to spend some time and purchase a license and everything, but again, simple. So if I can do the same with Windows Defender, and now showing my plan was to show one of the top antivirus products used in years. I also have the demo, but again, I told you, right? I have been warned multiple times. So this is something you should do. Maybe you can come up with a test version. So this executable here, there is a limitation. The code is actually hard-coded into a couple of host names. It will be working in our test bed only. So even if you copy it and execute in your machine, it will not work. Actually, our environment has been hard-coded into the executable. It will be working in our environment only. It will be encrypting the data in selected folders only. It will not be breaking out of the system. This has been created only as part of a training program. So what if I sent this to the home users? Any of your existing home user security products could detect or defend it? What do you think? So what if I am a threat actor and I have the backing of like 500 professional offensive security funded guys? What would be the impact? I created this stuff with simple ChatGPT within a couple of hours. What could be the impact? How would the same thing affect the general public? Right? So that is where a lot of questions comes into picture. That cyber threat actors, they actually doesn't have any kind of guardrails. When we do red team engagements against enterprises, we have guardrail, we have clearly written rules of engagement, very well defined scope. Cyber threat actors, they don't have any kind of anything, no guardrails. Like we are prepared until we are not. So this is a clear example of an organization everything is defended, right? They have all kind of armor in there until someone shoots in their fucking eye. Right? A simple phishing email. So how would you defend against such evolving and motivated adversaries, right? Thinking like an attacker would help. So even though you are the defensive folks, you can always think like an attacker and try to emulate their activities. This is where I tell a story for 1 minute, because so see, when I told the same story last day as well. So when I was in my primary school, I was kind of a very, very thin guy. I was very small. So other boys, they used to, bully me a lot. So then my mother, she got me into a martial arts school. It's a local karate school, Shotokan, right? So when you get into any martial arts school, the very first thing they will teach you is like how to take a fall. They will push you. They need to take a fall. You need to take a fall without hurting your body. Then they will teach you how to strengthen your body. Then they will teach you how to attack and defend. Then they will get you a sparring partner to practice fight. By the time you get into a street fight, you are going to learn that everything you have learned so far is not going to protect you. You have to come back, then learn again. So that's what here mentioned as adversary emulation and adversary simulation. Adversary emulation is like we are going to take Wicked Panda and all the activities performed by Wicked Panda. Then I am going to emulate the same set of activities against my security products, just to understand whether my defenses can defend against such attacks or not. Like, more like mimicking the activities of existing hacking groups. Then we have adversary simulation, that is more like think dynamically. This is more like red teaming. We can also simulate the activities of a threat actor plus a different hacking techniques together to test against your defenses. Right? So these two concepts are pretty important, similar to martial arts. You are continuously training yourself. You are continuously emulating these attack tactics in your environment, continuously fine-tuning your defenses, right? Until the street fight comes into your home. Right? So once at that time you will be able to defend yourself because you have been continuously training yourself. So basically improving your organization's defensive tradecraft or making all the blue teammates here red teammates. That is my goal. I'm going to make all of you people into red teammates. I'll give you a very, very simple scenario here. So we can see like hundreds of open source tools are there to create defense evasive payloads, right? And many threat actors and hacking groups are using it. As a blue teamer or as a offensive security professional, have you ever tried to compile maybe 5 of these open source products, open source tools to create evasive payloads or EDR bypassing payloads and test against your enterprise tooling? You're not supposed to do it in your enterprise, but you can just set up a test environment, put your EDR in there, and collect 5 open source tools like SysWaves or related tools, create payloads, and test against your EDR in the test environment. You will be amazed about the results. So if you are testing like 5 open source tools against your EDR, you will get to know that 6 of them are bypassing your EDR. It's a very, very funny situation, right? Then you can use that data to improve the defense. So you can add more detection rules. You can fine-tune your existing security product. So that is the concept here. So it's a case study. I'm going to skip this because we are, So this is another concept, threat-informed defense, which you can use to start adversary emulation or threat simulation exercises in your organization. So again, here, do you actually believe that enterprise organizations and government organizations, they can find value from adversary emulation, or continuous security control validation or attack simulation can actually help them? So we have been doing the same for both enterprise organizations and government organizations as well, to continuously assess their systems and continuously fine-tune. But there is no guarantee that on fine day someone will go there and hit them down. That is, again, another story. One more pointer here. So we can perform attack simulations using actionable threat intel. Let's say Wicked Panda attacked you. You are my friend. we are in the same industry, fintech companies, company A, company B. So chances are very high that the same hacking group will be attacking me as well, right? What I can do, I can collect intelligence from the attacks happened there, and I can use that to create an attack plan, test it in my own environment against all the security products, and fine-tune them, so that I can at least be ready to fight at the time that the attacker come to my home, my organization, right? So that is the concept behind continuous adversary emulation, like using actionable threat intel to perform continuous security control evaluation, then using that data to continuously fine-tune your defense systems. So it is not about purchasing more security products. This is about getting more return of investment from your existing security products, right? So we don't know what is the extent of the usage of our security products. We don't know. I mean, maybe there is a endpoint security product guy who is deploying the antivirus for you, EDR for you, web proxy for you, and add the policies, but they are not offensively testing the setup. That is your job, right? See, year one, I like this movie. I like Jack Black because I met this guy one time. Last year, we were driving from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, and this guy was walking on the fucking street like a nobody. We just, I just dropped the car there, and we were like, my wife was with me, my friends were with me. I was like, oh, Jack. He's a real nice guy. You will not believe he's a real nice guy. I like him. So year one, you can start small. You don't have to spend anything to start adversary emulation because, right? This is basically you can start with very, very simple things. Don't have to think very complex in the beginning. Always start small. Use of open source tools and other frameworks with your own. That is your own responsibility. Because I was telling a story yesterday. Someone was using open source tool which was created to target them, right? So in case of use of open source, always check the code yourself. Always check who was the contributors, right? Something happened like 2 years back. One guy created a zero-day exploit for remote desktop protocol, right? And many people just blindly downloaded them and started executing in their test laptops. They all got compromised. So one guy created the same, using a meme. Once you execute that code without reading the, actual source code, it would, smile at you. You need to read it to very small. Then there was one insider story on Blue Team fellow, leader guy, got that GitHub link and sent the same to the entire company. His team, asking them to test and validate. Big humiliation. So always use open source tools, in your own, So year two, once you have started small and performed manual emulation plans for your organization, you can maybe if you have sufficient budget, you can always go for commercial breach and attack submission products. I do not sell any commercial products, so you don't have to worry about that. I don't sell anything. So you can go there, you can start think big, and you can also make the team bigger. Because year one, you have already showcased your talent, showcased your capabilities. You can use that data and results to get more budget, more funding, more approvals, and start doing more stuff. Not like this. So, any comments on this? Can you understand what is this? Anyone could explain what this is to me? Blue team fellows. Sorry, red team fellows. Right? So it is written there, right? So you can just adversary infrastructure and red team infrastructure, basically the same. So this is basically a very, very small, when I say small, believe me, this is small, right? A very small infrastructure set up by a red team professionals to target the organization, to attack the clients, to break into our clients, right? You don't have to go so far and build the same to perform adversary emulation. That is my point. If you are looking at here, you can see multiple domains. If my target is like google.com, then my domains are going to be google.com, like google.security.com, right? So domains, redirectors, and actual service behind. 2 service for command and control, phishing server, mail server, payload delivery, right? this is a kind of a template for setting up a red team infrastructure. So this is what the attackers are going to use to target you or your organization. A very small setup, but as being professional red team, we use the same, but based on, it would change based on our clientele. So my point is, you don't have to set up the entire thing to get started with adversary emulation or simulation. You can concentrate on the green line there. You can just pick only one setup. Maybe you don't even need the reader, maybe a small server, to get started, with adversary emulation. You can start thinking like an adversary. You can try to emulate a couple of non-destructive activities in your test environment. Then you can then slowly move to the production, right? Very, very, So let's look at the green line there. I have a very short dynamic plan for you. I have shown the same for the training yesterday as well. So here, very, very small dynamic simulation plan. Let's say my goal was to test a certain document with a zero-day exploit, like it was called Folina back in 2022, to test against my EDR or whatever endpoint security products I had, just to understand whether they can detect it or not. So instead of creating only one activity, I created the entire scenario. Starting from hosting a command and control server, I have sent an email to the target here. Like, look at that, sending maldoc. Point 1, that was to validate email security control. By sending one simple email, you will be able to verify how well are your email security controls working. So if that email is landing in your inbox, there is something wrong with your email security controls, right? The same goes for the point 2 as well. If I am able to execute it, that was to validate 2 controls, to validate EDR, to validate the effectiveness of patching. 2 more controls failed. Then if I am able to execute, then it will obviously go and fetch a payload. That is to test again your web proxies. Cisco Umbrella, Zscaler, Bluecoat, whatever stuff you have in your organization. Then finally, the communication is being sent to my command and control. Then I can basically control everything in there. If that is happening, that is to validate, that activities was to validate network security, like your firewalls, outbound security rules and scenarios. Basically, instead of creating one small thing here, I kind of created thinking like an actual adversary, how an actual adversary would use the same Folina or malicious document to get into an organization. Simulated this is kind of simulation, this is not emulation, right? Because I am dynamically thinking here and dynamically creating a full scenario, right? So this will help you a lot because such kind of think outside the box kind of, again, the same stuff I mentioned, we can use security control validation and adversary emulation to continuously validate all type of security products. I'm going to skip that. So for the issue we talked about the general public, because organizations have money, governments also have budget. They can buy security products, they can bring in an incident response team and perform investigation and patching. But what about the general public? I think that is where the government is focusing right now. They need to focus more because many organizations are actually working together with the people, to help them with ransomware incidents and target attacks. So many police departments are actually working, in a good manner on this. So what is next? Like, only one answer: continuous adversary emulation, and collaboration. When I say collaboration, that is not going to be easy. A lot of verticals, a lot of politics, Yeah. So finally, again, I show this image everywhere, shamelessly because I like elephants. So we know, I'm from South India, we like elephants, right? And we know what to do when an elephant is charging at you, right? You can run, but elephants can actually run faster than you. You know that, right? Elephant, they can actually run faster than a human being. You will not escape from an elephant if you are, running in a straight line. So, okay, you can run away, you can run in a zigzag mode, you can climb a tree, you can jump into water, but they are also good swimmers. You can drive away, right? And we can think of many, many options. But what would you do if an elephant is trying to jump up on top of you, like a fucking monkey? So what would be your option there? So this is like, the modern day attacks are like the same. These are like totally unexpected, right? No emulation is going to help you there. You need to think outside the box all the time, continuously come up with new out of the box scenarios, continuously put your defenses, into test, right? So basically, always expect the unexpected and always come up with plans to simulate the unknown threat address. And I think I'm over the time. So if you have any questions, maybe you can shoot away right now, or you can also catch me, outside. My blog is in there. Also, my LinkedIn page is also in there. Just keep connected, keep in touch, and yeah, thank you, folks.